Hi there, everybody. It is Sunday. Oop, my camera's a little off. Let's fix that. Not that you need the camera on me necessarily, but I always think it's helpful to see that it's a real live human being on the other side, drawing some stuff. And today, we're going to draw Tails. If you tuned into last week's, we drew Sonic the Hedgehog using mostly basic shapes, curves, things like that. And so I've broken down these characters to a fairly simple degree. You know, we drew Sonic with a collection of mostly curves and circles. Today, I'm gonna show you how to draw Tails. So I'm gonna open up. I got my old file open. I saved it from last week. I need to get better about my file management. But there you go. Okay, so we're gonna just hide Sonic because right now we gonna focus on his buddy Tails. And I got the same background and everything. So we're gonna go in and we're gonna do our basic like character analysis. In some of my older videos, I make a point of picking out particular landmarks, like where the shoulders are, where the rib cage is, and then where the part of the hips are called the. Oops, that's a dog. Where part of the hips are. Is everything okay back there? Yeah. Okay. Whew. Anyway, where part of the hips are, it's called the great trochanter, I think it's called. It's been a little while since I've had to memorize that kind of biology. But we could do, of course, we could do the same thing for the Sonic characters, but I find that the classic Sonic style, at least, is so simple that it's constructed mostly of basic shapes. Plus, if we did do it the old way that I did the Breath of the Wild characters with, we'd mark, okay, there's one shoulder, there's his hip, his pelvis is in here, and then his rib cage is like this weird shape here. It would end up looking very strange, honestly, if we tried the same method. So we're gonna try a new method. It's the same method I covered in the Sonic video, but basically we're gonna break this down into basic shapes. So first off, Tails' head is, and actually red might not be the best thing to put on top of that red-orange, so that you can see what I'm doing. So we're going to do a bright blue. There we go. Tails' head, if you look at it real close, is basically a rectangle. It's a little more complicated than a rectangle because, you know, you round out this part, you round out this part here, and so on. But the basic shape to it is a rectangle, mostly. So I'm going to put a corner there, I'm going to put a corner there, kind of where his head changes shape. And there you can see it. I mean, you can see it. Like Sonic's head, I'll just contrast this so I'm not just, doesn't look like I'm just seeing what I want to see, right? Sonic's head, if I were to figure out where a corner to his head would be, I guess it'd be like there, there. And his head is more rounded. Plus, he's got this whole back section to the head and everything. So his head just works better as a circle. Whereas Tails' head works quite nicely as a rectangle. So there you go. That's that. Of course, he does have the mouth, and so we can take our rectangle and we can add this triangle shape to it. See? So now we have basically that for Tails. And then his body is a circle. He's got the noodle legs and the curvy triangle feet, and then of course the hands. His tails are probably going to be the hardest part, but let's focus on the body for now. Okay, so here we go. Let's start a new layer, and we'll get started with the tails sketch. So, I'm gonna have him in a standing pose as well, and make it pretty basic. Maybe do something a little bit more interesting. So here's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna pick out where I want his body first, right? Because the pose is different than the pose I did for Sonic. So I'm gonna pick out his body. I'm gonna have one leg here, one leg kind of over here. Gonna do noodle arm, and then I'm just gonna plot where his hands and feet are gonna be, and then his head. I'm gonna put a big old rectangle, and then a triangle on top of that. So that's the pose I'm going for, and then let's go ahead and figure out how his tails work. Okay, so his tails are pretty particular, but they have this bulbous shape here. So it's like you take the body, right, and then you attach a circle, and then you go over the circle and have it come to a little point, basically like that. And you do that twice. And the position of that circle bit will help determine the rest of it. It's like the fulcrum point kind of thing. So anyway, that's quickie tails analysis for you. Let's go ahead and resize this a little bit, make it bigger, because I want to do. Let's take a look. How big was our Sonic? Sonic's yay big. Yeah, that's a good size. So I'm gonna go ahead and fade this out. Make a new layer. And then I'm gonna start building up on top of this, right? Instead of doing the skeleton that we were doing before, or in the case of Sonic, doing a bunch of circles, we're gonna do this. So we're gonna build up on top. We're gonna round out the head. It's still a rectangle, but we do need to round it off a bit. So something like that, kind of Invader Zim Castle Crashers kind of shape. And then where the rectangle corners are, we're going to give him those big old adorable fox ears, right? Then we're going to attach his noodle arms, and his body is going to be pretty much that round shape. But again, they don't seem to have much in the way of a neck. I'm going to bring the arms in a little bit. I think I gave him too long and noodly appendages. But of course, as always, we're kind of editing as we go along here. Right, and then the feet. Oh, maybe that's too far back. Yep, that is. The heel there. Foot there. Maybe a little longer on the arms. It's interesting because Tails actually has like bigger gloves and shoes in proportion to his body than Sonic does. Which also helps make him seem a lot younger. So then we got to build up the triangle shape where his face muzzle thing will be. Right, and there we go. Let's fade that out. Do another layer. Actually, let's go ahead and on this same layer before, we're gonna plot out his eyes. His eyes are different than Sonic's eyes, but they're still this oval shape. What's different is this bit here, right? I mean, that's fairly obvious, because his eyes are like closed, or the circles, they're not like connected in the middle. He doesn't have goggle eyes. So we're gonna go ahead and plot out where we want his eyes to be, which will be, let's see, I'll have him look up. So I want to have him here and kind of there. And then we're just gonna do a nice little dome kind of curve shape for where his eyes are, right? And there you go. Let's go ahead and plot his tail out at this stage too. So I'm going to put his tails down. I'm going to put down here. And then this one's going to be off kind of here. And so then we're going to connect those to the main body. And this curve is tricky a little bit. Curve it out. There we go. So he has a nice big bushy tail. That's why I do the circles, so that the tail is nice and bushy. And then that tail will be there. Okay, and you can arrange the tail however you want. This is just my rendering of tails. You can change the pose if you want, but the same steps are going to be useful to you. So there you go. So next is the part where we're going to add on some of the details. So for instance, his whiskers, he's got 5 whiskers, presumably on each side. So we're going to come in here, we're going to give him some whiskers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And of course, this side's going to show more whisker than this side because of how his head is turned. Let me adjust some things. His design has not changed very much. Oh, I should slide my camera over. His design has not changed very much, even in Sonic Boom. In Sonic Boom, they just gave him some extra clothes and stuff, but his overall shape and everything has been the same, which is nice to see. It's nice to see a little consistency. I think the best redesign from that game was probably Amy, because she looked enough like the Amy that they had been going with thus far, but without the ridiculous hoop dress. And of course, that's not even Amy's original design, but I could talk about that for a while. Let's get back to the drawing. So I'm going to make his eyes a little bit bigger. Not the whole eye, but the pupil part. And I like to make the upper part of the eye a little bit thicker, personally, to kind of simulate eyelashes, instead of trying to draw in the whole eyelash. I don't think that's a Sonic aesthetic. In fact, I can tell you it's not, looking at the tails here. But I like to do that on characters. So that's where you get your kind of your original style from, is going to be what kind of decisions you make like that. So I'm going to thicken up his upper eye, make it look like he's got some kind of eyelashes going on a little bit. And then the nose is also a triangle shape. So we're going to, but it's pointed towards us. So what that tells me is I gotta like plot it out. So I'm gonna have a point there, and a point there, and then the nose is gonna come up towards us, and it's gonna be like that, right? Now I can also find some reference for tails, and see if we can find what his nose looks like when it's pointed directly at you, which is mostly what I landed on, but a little rounder. Not quite so pointy. So we're gonna go ahead and soften this point out, make it a little rounder. And there we go. And then, of course, we give him his big old tail smile. These are different shapes. The way this one is shaped, of course, you've got the upper part of the mouth, the lower part of the mouth, and then you gotta follow the curve from the jaw, right? Or from the bottom part of the mouth. This is where Sonic gets a little awkward, because if you look at where his dimple would be in relation to his nose, it's a little high, and in fact, none of Sonic's mouth positionings make much sense if you think about it, because the way this mouth is drawn, and this sort of anime style mouth, where it's got like this going on, this would be at the front of the face, because like there's the cheek, this is the front of the mouth. We'll make it a lady mouth for some reason, and then there's the nose, right? But the way Tails has it here is the front of the face is out here, and you can like see his other cheek, and it's a style, sure, and it's not bad, but it's not realistic at all. So we're not gonna focus on that. We're gonna focus on making his smile cute. It's not necessarily gonna be in the correct place, anatomically speaking, but we're gonna try, and need to make it bigger and cuter. Also rounder, that's one thing. Now he looks upset. But the one thing about Sonic expressions is they are very rounded. There we go. Put his little tongue in there, kind of do a little thing like that. Doesn't he look adorable? The problem, of course, is you know, his chin is like over here, but his mouth is over here. Like, I can't move my mouth away from my chin. But Sonic's a cartoon character, so he totally can. And Tails is also a cartoon character. I am going to lift this part of his muzzle a little bit to give him that sort of cheek when you smile. It kind of inflates your cheek, you know? And I'm not going to do it on the side, on this side over here. This side is going to follow his eye more. There we go. And he's a happy little fox. Now, another thing about Tails is he's got these three hair things. I don't know what to call them. They're basically hairs, though. And he literally always has this in every incarnation of Tails, right? So that's going to be one of the most important parts. And they are literally right in the middle of his head, or the middle of the top of his head. In like every version of him, they just poke out the middle of his head. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go start here, which is approximately where I think his hairline would be, and I'm gonna give him 1, gonna give him 2, gonna give him 3, and his head is tilted, so I'm kind of curving them to the side there, like that. And then this is just kind of the spine of the hair. So it actually would be more like this. Yeah, more like that. I say the spine of the hair, but that's kind of a weird way of putting it. But basically, the middle of that hair string, hair group of hair, is kind of that. So, gonna draw in his cute little hair. Let's bring that top one down a little bit more, because they also flop. They're flopping to the side a little bit, but they also always flop down, right? So there. That's what we're gonna have those look like. And then his ears. His ears are pretty simple, just a nice fox ear, and you'll notice he's actually got this line here, which people have on their ears too. It's a thing. Just a little divot like that, or not divot, but you can see on my ear I have, you can see spots where you could draw a line, right, on a human ear. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Now, one thing I want to double check is where his ears attach, because I want to make sure I don't put them too high on his head. So the bottom of his ear is roughly, it's not, it doesn't come in above the eye. I think that's gonna be the important part. But it is lower than I initially drew it. So I'm gonna bring it about here. We're gonna bring the bottom of his ear down here. Give him big old rounded ears. And he's happy, so we gotta give him kind of a happy look. And then draw his ears basically like that. Put a triangle, sort of a rounded triangle inside of your tail's ear, and then do the little line. So rounded triangle bit, little line there. Maybe not cut into his face so much. I think I did that too much. Yeah. He actually does have a curve, a concave curve in his ear, so where it comes in like this and not the way I drew it at first. So that's my bad. It's more like that. There we go. And there we have Tails' cute little face. Such a cute little face. Okay, now, Tails, unlike Sonic has a little round bit on his tummy, right? On his he's got a little tum-tum. Tails also has a little tum-tum, but it's floofy. So, wow, that sounded awesome. Tum-tums and floof. Now, in some of Tails' redesigns, it has been different a little bit. But this one, I'm going to go ahead and just put in a circle-y bit, and then I'm going to draw the opposite direction, just like that. And then I'm going to put in a little line here. No, not that one. I don't like that one. I'm going to put a little line in there to make it just, and I get the idea that it's fluffy. Then we're going to draw in his little body. Little happy arms. Now, the gloves are going to be interesting because, again, his gloves are actually a lot bigger than Sonic's in proportion to the rest of his body. Of course, maybe not his head, but they're actually... they need to look like they're too big for him. But he also has these like wrist straps on his gloves to keep them on. He's also got buckles above his shoes near his socks, presumably also to keep his socks in place. So the thing is, the trick is going to be just making it look like it's just a little bit too big for him. So I'm going to draw it way out here. He's having a time. Give him a ring dealy. Bring that glove in more. There you go. Make it look more like a donut. Give him the wrist strap, and then do the hand from there. And I'm gonna have him. How am I gonna have his hands? I'm actually gonna have his hands open, but not really pointed anywhere. So let's go ahead and do kind of like this, right? And so his thumb will attach here, and the one thing about Sonic is they do all have 5 fingers. Tails' fingers are actually a little bit more round as well, or they feel a little bit more round anyway, than maybe we drew Sonic's. But I'm gonna go ahead and pick out my pose basically. So thumb comes out here. Gonna have a finger here and a finger here. And then I don't really need to draw the rest of the hand as much, but I do need to like approximate it so you can tell it's there somewhere. Cartoony characters especially, you know, you don't have to go into all of the anatomy necessarily, as long as people believe that it's there. And again, hands are difficult. There we go, that's better. Do. We're gonna bring this one in, put in his little arm glove dealy, have him reach up here, and I'm gonna have him holding a thing. What do we want him holding? Let's have him hold a ring. So I'm gonna give him a nice like roundy fist. Just like we do with Sonic. And nice roundy fingers. Again, just like we do with Sonic. Do. And then he's gonna hold a nice power ring, which is basically just a big hoop. But you know what it is. You know it's a power ring. You've played the games. Just a nice gold ring. Okay, cool. And then he's got a curvy bit. And then, of course, he's got big socks. This is the next part that's like a design thing. He's got big socks. If you look at him, it's like, okay, Sonic's socks are big. Tails' socks go basically all the way up to his knee, it feels like. So we're going to put in his shoe buckle bit right here. And then we're going to give him big donut socks all the way up there. Like freaking ankle, or yeah, ankle warmers or whatever. And then we're gonna give him some curvy bits for his foot. Da, da, da. Kind of do that number a little bit. Make sure his foot looks like it has some shape to it. Like because if we take away these things, like I don't know if I can tell that that's a foot. Whoop. Give him a little bit more shape. And of course his feet have, or his shoes have the white part. So we're gonna go ahead and section that off as well, which will help define the shape of the foot, right? So there you go. Or shoe rather. I don't know what their feet look like underneath, but they have shoes. So I assume they have some sort of foot-like thing. And then let's keep going. I did kind of make him a little skinnier than this other drawing of him, but I'm okay with it. Make his sock hang a little bit. And then, whoop. Gotta make sure his foot dealy is nice and curvy. So we're gonna actually start back here. Gonna do that number. Curve, 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 and shoot. Yeah. I'm gonna take this curve out, because, well, no. I could leave it in. I just gotta fix, when you're, because this curve here, it suggests the bottom of his foot is like right here. And so when, because I had the socks arranged the way I did, it looked like the top of the sock was pointing in a different direction. So we want them to match. So we're gonna make his sock curve like this. Like so. Now his sock looks like it's turned the same direction away from us, right? So there you go. Now, these his tails come out here, so I need to kind of adjust how I did his tails a little bit and connect them to his butt. But just a little. It's not too bad. And again, you know, we're editing as we go along. Make sure that we adjust what we need to adjust, you know. Whoop. And then we got to do the spiky bits on his tail. So we come over to the end of his tail and we just draw little triangle-y shapes. Give him that foxy look, right? And that's pretty much all there is to it, you know? Clean up everything. I gotta move his arms maybe a little bit. Yeah, more like that. And his body's a little rounder in this picture. So I'm gonna bring that stuff up. And now it's just cleanup and rendering, so... But he's a happy little fox. He got a ring. He got a ring! Maybe make the feet longer? Not really sure. Let me look. No, I'm actually okay with it. Okay. Because when I looked at that, it's like, okay, I'm looking at the arm to leg kind of thing, but his one arm is like this long, and he's cartoony, so they kind of stretch around. So I'm kind of fine with how those turned out, the arms and legs. So now it's gonna be clean up and color. And I've got some time to do that, so here we go. And of course you can continue to make some changes. I'm gonna have him actually look at his ring. That he's so happy he got. Gonna bring in his headline a little bit, because he does have a fat head, but I don't want it to be that fat. Personal preference there. It's not necessarily part of his design to not have a fat head. I've already gone over his design points, so you can now take that information and you know, we could basically do whatever you want with it. To an extent, I mean, Sega might get mad if you do something weird with it, but, you know. Be responsible with your art. Probably, you know, maybe. Do 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 do. Whoop. And he's just pleased as punch that he got that gold ring. As this thing, you know, what's kind of funny is another thing that uses these round smiley bits is like this face. Or whatever, I forget. There's a meme with a funny face. Oh yeah, the eyes are like this. That mouth was awful. I can't draw it. I can't. I'll have to study that more. I haven't studied up for it or prepped for it at all. I usually do a little bit of prep for these videos, practice drawing the characters that I'm gonna do breakdowns for. I'm gonna bring his shoulders up a little. Just so I make sure that I get them fairly good, and that there's something useful for you guys who follow me on the streams and the videos. So I wanna make sure that I do a good job at these, you know. So I do practice a little bit when I have the time. And he'd be like, Sonic, I got the gold ring. Because Sonic memes. Ooh, gotta make sure it's round. Round fingers, round fingers. Pingas. I'm actually going to give him less of a distance between his... I'm going to give him less of a crotch gap. And this part's the easy part. This is just, you know, draw the same thing, but, you know, finalize some decisions that you made and clean up some of your line work. I'm gonna fix the tails, because I think that's probably the part that's weakest about this right now. Is the actual tails. And these rings, I just kind of squiggled some of them in. I squiggled the arms and the legs for his wrist ring things, or the buckled parts, which is totally valid. And I'm gonna try to make this bigger and bushier. There we go. Oh, except he's missing a hand. I should fix that. I'm actually going to bring his hand even more vertical. Try to make his fingers a little bit more bulbous. I think that'll help sell it. Oop. Eh. No, he does. He definitely has other fingers in there. Eh. And there you go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put him up against our Sonic. Shrink him down a little bit. Because he is smaller than Sonic. Well, technically he's not smaller, but he's younger. That's good. And then start painting him, and there's a whole mess of other stuff we can do. So I am gonna go ahead and not do that. I'm gonna go ahead and paint him a little bit while or at least put some colors in while I talk. Because I gotta do my wrap up, and I guess plug the my commission spots for the month. If you want a quick little sketch, I do like $10 an hour, so you can get something like this. I mean, something a little bit more detailed. You know, I can do a bunch of stuff in an hour. If you are interested, feel free to check out my website. I will put a link to that in the description on this video when it gets archived or processed or whatever. I'll have a link to my website. You can also find that on any of my other videos as well. You should be able to find them, and you can message me on my website, and we can chat about concepts and pricing, different things. It's a way to help support the channel, and it's a way for me to, provide. And it's, I'm providing a service. It's not just me asking for money. So if you are interested in having me paint something for you, I've got 2 spots open in September. So, and I will be checking my website inbox a little bit more frequently here in the future as well. I've been getting into the habit, but it's having a new website, having a new thing to check up on has been a little challenging, because I am not the most organized person in the world. But I would like to give a shout out to Baconinator, I think. I probably said that wrong. For being my first customer, really. So shout out to him. And I will maybe post that picture on my next Friday video so y'all can see what I painted. And now I guess at this point I'm kind of just rambling and coloring Tails. He's got a lot of white. He's got a lot of white. I tend to, when I'm coloring, I tend to color a little clumsily and then you know, clean it up and make it pretty after, because I just want to block in everything. It's a lot of the same strategy I use for a lot of the things I do. You know, start big and then go smaller with your details and your and things. So I'm doing the same thing with my colors. I'm starting with, you know, blocking the colors in, and I'm not too careful with where the colors are put right now. I'll get into that in a little bit. So, you know, it's like, I don't worry about coloring within the lines. Of course, if you're working with traditional media, then maybe worry a little bit more about coloring inside the lines. But in general, I'm like, you can color outside the lines a little bit. It's no big deal. I'm gonna get a nice color for the ring, which is also yellow. But I'm gonna go ahead and put a nice little some shine on it, so it stands out. He does. Tails has about the same color shoes as Sonic. Of course, with the white part being kind of an exception. Because Sonic's got the stripe and Tails has a sort of a blocked in bit of white, which apparently wraps around his whole foot, or the whole shoe, so I'm going to do the underside of it white too. Ba, 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 ba. And then he's got his buckles, which are kind of a steely gray color. And the wristbands and everything. There you go. And then his mouth has... Wow, this is actually a pretty... That's almost the same red as his shoes. In fact, it looks like it's the same red as his shoes, which is a little weird. But whatever. I ain't gonna argue. And there we go. That's Tails, and that's my hour. So, thank you for stopping by and drawing along. Those of you who do that, you know, let me know if you've enjoyed these videos. I am always looking for feedback, different things I can do to, you know, spice it up. I decided after Breath of the Wild, after doing more realistic character or anatomy studies and stuff, doing something more simple and geometric would be fun. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to you know, leave a thumbs up on it and a like and everything. I don't know if you can do that during a live stream, but once it gets processed, you can do that on the video part. And yeah, so we'll draw some more next week, and we got one more to go, and then maybe I'll start reaching into like more obscure characters, like maybe something from the comics. We'll see. But next week we got Knuckles. So again, check out my website, and I will see you guys next time. Yeah. Sorry, again, rambling. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I do really appreciate it, and it's been a lot of fun. and I hope you've had fun with Tails and Sonic the Hedgehog. I will see you guys next time. Bye, friends.